Let's talk about how your predictions are received, because I've spent some time in the intelligence world, and as you note, I mean, just because somebody says the computer said this is going to happen, I know that's not what you're saying, but that's what it feels like, right? And so if you show up and say, like you recently in February, Rhombus predicted that July would reach a peak of political instability in Bangladesh.
Mhm.
Now we all know what happened in Bangladesh in July, right? And then by August, the prime minister was stepping down. So clearly, your prediction was an important prediction. It proved out. But how are things like this received by people who hear about them? Do they believe you? Do they trust the AI? Do they trust your approach? How is it coming across?
Well, I would say it's been a journey from our days in Afghanistan. I don't know if you saw that Raven Century article in The Economist. From our days in Afghanistan in 2019 and 20, where we saved many lives because we were able to predict where the Taliban might attack next, and to the point where we are today, which is we're doing things much more at scale, much bigger questions, even than what we were answering in Taliban. Um, there's been a shift in the acceptance of or the posture in general on the customer side, because the customers are also getting more and more educated about what such technology can do and what it can't do. And so, broadly speaking, I would say that there is more receptivity, and it's increasing, and more curiosity, uh, more, more deeper questions being asked to probe the output and to be able to um, ascertain whether it is in fact reasonable or not. So overall, I think the attitude has gone from complete confusion to okay, I think I understand where you might be going with this. But I won't say it's an embrace of any sorts, but it's an improvement, surely.
I, if your system was around, say, during the age of whether we were going to go into Iraq or not,
Hmm.
and the analysis, and I would argue the confirmation bias led us down the wrong path, your system would avoid the confirmation bias, despite the fact you have analysts, but also would have require more data points than were used in our analysis. Is that a fair description?
It's a fair assessment. Yeah, it's a fair assessment, and we would probably be. Um, I think our system would be collecting a lot more, and more importantly, I think it would be able to see things in a more connected way. That I think is as since you've lived in the intelligence world, you probably know the intentional siloing that exists for all very good reasons, having to do with confidentiality or classification or whatnot. Um, but it creates its challenges, and so there's certainly, in this particular instance you talked about, I think there's potential with the right permissions one could have seen things collectively. Yes.